What's up, ladies and gents? Andrew C. Bailey here. Been traveling last couple days from lovely California. Spent the year in California in the sun in summer. It was lovely. Now moving up the coast to Washington and then Montana to celebrate Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's with the fam. So along the way, if you don't know, my soulmate Jacqueline, have been traveling the last 2 years. We bought a camper van with a bed in it, and it folds up into a sofa. We bought an old 1996 Econoline van, and because we saw this documentary on YouTube where these people were saying, "Fuck it. I'm not waiting until I'm 60, 65 to go out on the road. I'm going to actually pull the trigger now." And so we saw this maybe like 3 years ago, and it was very intriguing for us. Most people want to travel, but they believe they can't. So then they don't manifest the resources to do so, including the ideas that could help you, quote, make it happen. So we watched this documentary on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's about traveling around the U.S. And so we got excited about it. And then we didn't pull the trigger on it for like another couple of years, right? Well, maybe not a couple of years, maybe like a year. And then we pulled the trigger on it and we said yes to it. And then we've been on the road ever since. Well, we're going back up the coast now. And so we're outside of Atascadero the other day in California near San Luis Obispo going to meet Amanda Allen, a friend of ours. And so we're driving through the middle of the desert and the engine starts making noise, like a high screech. I knew what it was. It was a pulley. It was a pulley, and then it had like a tensioner pulley, and then it had like the serpentine belt and all and shit. So it started squealing. And we were out in the middle of nowhere. And so I was like, what am I going to do? Okay, I can stop and find a mechanic here, or I can keep going all the way to Atascadero and chance it. So I decided I'm going to Atascadero. Let's do it. So we're traveling from like the middle of the desert, like another hour to Atascadero, and the engine is screaming. It's squelching, it's screaming, and I'm having to just accept this, surrender to what's going on in the moment. And instead of having a mental fight with what's going on, the most insane thing is arguing with what is in the present moment. What is what is. So if the engine's squealing, you accept it, and then you say, what can I do from here? And sometimes it's nothing, and sometimes it's something. But the surrender I had to have, I just decided to trust that I'm fully supported. So we go all the way to Atascadero. We pull off to this it's like a offshoot where you go down and then you turn into the city. And right as I turned into the city, the pulley broke off and the serpentine comes flying off, serpentine belt, and I start losing control of my van. And so I'm like really hard turning it, and it's like, ah. But what's funny is I was able to turn down another road and immediately slide into a mechanic's place. And it happened to be a block near the restaurant where we were meeting up with Amanda Allen. So the whole time I'm having to surrender to this, and I'm having to breathe through this, and I'm noticing my mind's automatic reactions to situations like this. And so we go and have lunch, and I did a coaching call as well. And we go back and we decide, I'm not feeling this mechanic place that we're at. And so we call up AAA to come give us a tow, as we had found another mechanic up the road who had like 5 stars. And they tell us that we've used up all our AAA and that it's going to be like $90 to do it, like an extra call. So we surrender to that and say, okay, pull up or get it towed. This tow guy is amazing. His name is Jimmy. Shout out to Jimmy. Amazing person. I could feel his energy, like his old soul that I've met this before. We had a great conversation in the tow truck. They take us to the place. The place is unbelievable, nice people, whatever. And the whole point of this story is that you've got to learn to accept what's going on in the moment rather than wrestle with it or fight with it. Because if you mentally wrestle with it and you fight with it, mentally, emotionally, I can tell you, you're going to create a lot of fucking suffering for you. How easy would it have been for me to go into suffering? Why is this happening to me? I must be vibrating in it. For all you spiritual people, I must be vibrating negatively. Law of attraction is working against me. No, not necessarily. Everything's working for me. Even if I don't know how things are going to unfold. None of us do. Do you know what's going to happen in a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes? Maybe you could guess based upon past shit you got in your mind, in your memory, but we don't know what's going to happen in 5 minutes. Maybe even 30 seconds. You don't know. So you're learning. It's this continual accepting of what's in the moment is the spiritual practice, and getting to the point where no matter what happens, you are so you have so much inner stability within you that you're not in a constant fight with what's going on in the moment. When what's going on in the moment gets you reacting constantly, when reaction implies that you're unconscious. You're not choosing it. You're reacting to everything. If you watch yourself throughout the day, watch as stimulus comes up. Stuff in front of your eyes, situations, people, and watch your habitual, automatic reaction to things. And you will realize that you're not making most of your decisions during the day. Rather than respondability or responsibility, as one of my mentors says, which is the ability to respond. When stimulus comes up, something happens with the van, stimulus comes up, am I going to react? Oh my God, right? Which would be easy to do. Or am I going to consciously see it and respond? Because you'd never respond by freaking out. Consciously, you'd never respond to hardly anything with freak out. Freak out doesn't help anybody. Calmness. Accepting what's in the moment. The best thing I've heard, one of the best things I've ever heard is from Eckhart Tolle, accept the moment as if you chose it. It's been a mantra of mine. Accept the moment as if I chose it. So if an unpreferred situation comes up, try to say, I've chosen this. I've chosen this. Even if I don't know why I've chosen it, I've chosen it. Or you could say, God has chosen this for me. And learning to live in acceptance and that surrender. And that's real power. The ability to not have things affect you. And if you do have things affecting you, the ability to notice those automatic processes that are going on within your being, within your subconscious mind. What comes up for you automatically over and over again in your life? Are you watching? Because I'm watching like a hawk. I'm watching my automatic reactions that are going on during the day to certain stimulus. This is how you progress. This is how you expand. This is how you get better. And this is what I teach my premium VIP clients. Is I'm like, okay, well, what's your level of responsibility? Meaning stimulus comes up. Are you consciously responding? You have the ability to respond consciously to it rather than to freak out and go crazy. This is a skill, one of the most important skills. Imagine, like, especially if you're a business owner, something comes up in your business, let's say, maybe it's an unexpected bill. Maybe it's somebody quits on you. Maybe somebody didn't get a project done that they said they were going to do. What is your automatic response to things? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it peace? Is it like strong leadership? Like, okay, we'll figure out why it didn't get done. And go about rectifying the situation or improving the situation? Like, what's your level of skill in this? Or are you a super reactive person? Like, you watch the news, let's say it pops on and you see something and then you're like freaking out. That's your like automatic reaction to things. Rather than I'm going to live a responsive life where I'm going to respond to stimulus on a conscious level. So like if you're trying to improve your sales as well. When somebody tells you no, what is your automatic response? Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it I don't care? Is it, there's millions of people out there, other people out there, or, just because they said no once doesn't mean they're not going to buy in the future. Like noticing what are your responses? Or are they just autopilot reactions? Like, especially if you're in a relationship. What erodes relationships? Reactivity, man. You're reacting to each other's usually pain and drama. Each other's egos are fighting, feeding off of each other. And once you start noticing, like Jacqueline and I, if I start noticing I'm reacting the same way to certain things she's doing or doesn't do, it is my job, my responsibility to look at that energy. Like, look how I am functioning and taking responsibility for the energy that I bring into this world, into this relationship, into this business, into this body work, into this, just what kind of energy are you showing up with? And what kind of energy are you outputting? Because in physics, whatever you put out, you get back. If you're putting out anger, you're going to be more likely to attract other angry people, angry circumstances, rather than you're a peaceful, happy person. You'll attract like attracts like. You'll attract other people in situations that are congruent with that happiness, right? But although there are some times where it looks like, when I'm driving the van and the pulley breaks or the serpentine belt falls off the broken pulley, like, what's my response going to be to that? Is it going to be freak out? Am I going to go into victimization, seeing myself as a victim, or am I going to use the situation to my advantage? Even though I can't see how this is working out, it must be for me because it is happening. Ironically, the thing happened is that I feel when I'm driving the van, I actually feel a lot more confident that I'm driving something that's more reliable. So even though it was like $306, it was $306 for that entire experience. Totally worth it. I loved it because it was good that I had to trust in God, trust that I was supported, and accept the moment as if I had chosen it. And if I didn't accept it, could you imagine the turmoil, the suffering? You're causing all your suffering, do you realize? You at this point are causing all your suffering. With the way you're thinking, with the way you're reacting, with the way you're going about things. And a lot of people don't like it when I start talking like that, but it's the truth. You're causing your own suffering. If you think it's other people, it's not. It's your thoughts about what other people are doing or saying that is causing your own suffering. It's not the situation ever that contains the suffering. It's your thoughts about the situation that contains the suffering. Then those thoughts lead to corresponding emotions, and then you can get into a pattern of suffering, and then repeating it, deeply grooving it into your being. So now you're on autopilot. So it's your job, it's all of our jobs to awaken from this reactivity, because reactivity is no way to live. Here's the thing. Let's say you're a business owner. Would you want to hire someone who is massively reactive? Who is blowing up at just like little things? Who gets upset really easily? Or do you want somebody who sees something come up in the business and decides to consciously handle it with the most effective way that they can come up with. You're going to want the one that can respond. So like, think about what was the last time you had a situation come up and where you just reacted. Maybe you went off, maybe you went crazy, maybe you went into anger mode, you went into Hulk mode. When was the last time? Or sometimes it's like something happens and you retreat and you go into your shell and you shut down and you don't feel your emotions. Or something happens and you go distract yourself. Something emotional like, you reacted, and then you go do work, or you'll turn on Netflix instead of feel the emotion. If you start feeling your, especially like negative emotions when they show up, you can then do what Eckhart Tolle calls transmutation. You're taking that dark energy that's within, and you're just sitting with it. You're not judging it. You're not getting reactive to the energy. And you just sit with it and sit with it and sit with it and sit with it and sit with it until it starts to dissipate and then transmute into the light. And that's how a lot of people get rid of trauma in the body. A lot of people are reacting because they do have trauma in the body that hasn't been drained out of the body. Recently went to Kevin Isaac in California. Highly recommend him for his human optimization technique. And he basically drained the trauma out of my body by doing a lot of advanced body work. And I feel so much better. I feel clearer of mind. I feel like I'm more emotionally stable. Again, that has to do with not being reactive. I feel comfortable in my body. And when you feel more comfortable in your body, it's going to be easier to be less reactive because you're not in pain. If you've ever been in pain a lot in your body, maybe because you sit on computers all day, it's night and day from when you're flexible and your body has a lot of mobility. When you're in pain, you can actually, before I went to Kevin, my body's actually in a lot of pain from sitting all day or sitting incorrectly, sleeping incorrectly, all of that. And so that affects your performance as an entrepreneur, or even if you're in a career. Like if you've got pain going on in your body, you got to get rid of it. Pain, like just like physical muscle pain, to like trauma that's trapped inside your body from just living life, having emotional experiences and not actually taking the time to transmute them into positive energy because you just don't know how. So I went and did his human optimization technique, and that was a great thing because when Kevin goes throughout your entire body, especially mine, my body was extremely stiff and in a lot of pain. It taught me, and some of the, it's intense when he pushes on some points in your body. And I can tell you, I had to learn to surrender and accept what was going on in the moment, even though my body, when he pushed certain, like on my shoulder, let's say he was pushing on my shoulder real hard, like, it's a learning to feel your body, like try to fight back and then to surrender into it. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. When you're learning to fucking surrender to whatever's going on in your life and accept the moment as if you had chosen it. And this is a skill level or a skill that if you were to practice, you would move so much faster in your life. You would accelerate your life. I'm talking about an accelerator here, guys. Being reactive because you don't like what's going on in the moment. The reason people suffer is because things are not happening the way that you think they should be happening. Things are not happening the way your mind thinks that they should be happening. And so you're in constant disruption from within. Did I like that the pulley broke and the serpentine belt came off and then I lost kind of control of the van? I didn't prefer it, but the only thing I could do is accept it. My old self would fight the whole thing and be miserable and causing everybody in my vicinity to be miserable as well. But you get to the point, and I hope you get to the point where you realize that you have been supported this entire time by God, by the universe. The universe truly has your back, and you're getting whatever you're asking for. And sometimes it looks like an unpreferred way, but it's actually the fastest way to get what you prefer. It's just totally different. So I feel really good in my van. The previous day, there's another little story. Went to get 2 new tires. This was in Tustin, California. Went to get 2 new tires. I thought it was going to be $168, right? Went in there, found out that I had picked the wrong tires, and that my routers on the front of the van, are they rotors? Rotors and brake pads needed to be replaced. The guy shows me, and I'm like, I know brake pads because I've dealt with them before, and they were worn to the bone. And so he goes into his little computer. He's talking about, it being over like $1,000. And so I had an expectation that it was 168, and now we're talking about like 10 times as much. So I'm practicing surrender into, okay, I'm going to surrender and accept what I'm seeing right now instead of get reactive. Oh my God. And then make a decision from that point. Do I want to go and put great brakes on my vehicle for my family? So I decided to go forward with that and then accept it. And then immediately some stuff came up from like childhood about money stuff. Because, I talk about money stuff a lot because entrepreneurs don't understand that you've got to work on your money mindset. It's like an area of mastery. And so a lot of stuff from childhood came up that I wouldn't have ever been able to see during even my regular contemplation self-inquiry sessions. New stuff I got to document. So I take out my little digital journal and I'm like writing down all my thoughts, all my emotions. I want to capture them in my net like I'm capturing like a swordfish. That important. I want to see what data I have within me. What data do I have within me, Rebecca and Alyssa? What data do I have within me that doesn't belong there anymore, that maybe once served me but does not serve me now? So a bunch of shit was coming up about money and whatnot. And I got to capture it and work on it. Because when that shit comes up, when the internal stuff comes up, whether it's like you're triggered because you got some trauma inside of you, or you've got some negative thinking, just like it feels like a mind attack, that is the best time to do personal work, to capture what's coming up in the moment so that you can know what's holding you back. And so I ended up moving forward on the tires and the brake pads and whatnot. And I feel 100% better and more safe in that van. Okay? It feels good, actually. I feel more stable on the road. And then as I'm driving, we then drive north from like the LA area out into the desert. And you can fucking better believe that I was glad that I got invested in those tires and in the brake pads and the rotors. I was like, thank God, right? So it's all working. My whole point is all working out for you. It's all working out for me. And the funny thing is, I forgot on my vision board, I put down I wanted new tires. So God is giving me what I want. Not in the exact way the physical mind thought it would play out, but it played out in the best way possible. And so are you a reactive person, or are you somebody who consciously is responding to whatever is going on in the moment, whatever comes up? And how good are you at surrendering to or accepting what's going on and not fighting with it, not wrestling with it? Those are the questions I have for you tonight. Love you guys. Andrew C. Bailey out.